Hello and welcome student. Today we will learn a lesson from class 6 subject English, the sword in the stone. A legend set in the ancient Britain, the sword in the stone narrates the story of King Arthur, one of the bravest and noblest king of Britain. His journey from begin and orphan to the King of Britain is traced in this lesson. So let's proceed to our lesson. But before proceeding to our lesson, let's see a brief introduction of our author.
Let's learn about our author. T.H. White was born in Bombay, India in 1906. He graduated from Queen's College, Cambridge and began to write. By the mid 1930s, he had published several books, including poetry, under his name and under the pseudonyms James Aston. White lived to see his work produced as the Broadway musical Camelot and also animated into the Disney movie The Sword in the Stone. T. H. White passed away while on a lecture tour in 1964 of a heart ailments. White was astonished by the depth and humanity of the character in Malmi the Moth Arthur. He was inspired to write his own interpretation of the legend that acts as a completion of various King Arthur stories. In his work, White explores human nature and individual motivation, resulting in complex characters that evolve and change.
Characters of the play The Sword in the Stone. Magician Merlin, King Arthur, Sir Kay, Sir Actor, Archbishop. So, student, all these are the character of our play, The Sword in the Stone. So, let's proceed to our play, The Sword in the Stone.
King Arthur, famous in legends and history as one of the bravest and noblest kings of Britain, grew up as an orphan youth before destiny intervened in the form of his protector and guardian Merlin, the magician, to reveal his true identity to the people of Britain. In ancient Britain, at a time when the land was invaded by wild barbarians, the good and noble Lord Uther found, fought them bravely and drove them away from his land. The people made him King of Britain and gave him the title Pendragon, meaning dragon's head. King Arthur Pendragon ruled Britain wisely and well. The people were content, but very soon the king died. It was thought that He had been poisoned by some traitors. There was no heir to the throne of Britain. New words, barbarians. Here it means a member of a people not belonging to one of the great civilizations. Traitors means a person who betrays someone or something such as a friend, cause or principles. Let's see the explanation part. King Arthur was a famous and legend hero of the history of England. He was brave, noble king of Britain. He was orphaned from birth, but brought up by one of the loyal soldiers and was a guardian. But because of his dexterity in the form of his protector and guardian, Merlin the magician, who revealed his true identity in front of the Britain people. The story took place in ancient Britain time when the land was ruled by the barbarians, but Lord Arthur, who was who was noble and bravely fought with them and drew them away. Seeing all this, Britain people gave him the title of Pendragon, means dragon's head, and made him a king. He ruled the kingdom wisely and well. People were happy with him and feel safe. But soon he died because some of his traitor poisoned him. Now there was no heir, no son of the king to sit on the throne of Britain. The powerful lords and knights who had been kept under control by King Uther now began to demand that one of them should be crowned King of Britain. Rivalry grew amongst the lords, and the country as a whole began to suffer. Armed robbers roamed the countryside, pillaging farms, and fields. People felt unsafe and insecure in their own homes. Fear gripped the country, and lawlessness prevailed over the divided kingdom. New words, rivalry, competition for the same objectives or for superiority in the same field. Pillaging means rob a place using violence, especially in wartime. Grip, take and keep a firm hold of, grasp tightly. Prevailed, prove more powerful or superior. Nearly 16 years had passed since the death of Lord Uther. All the lords and knights of Britain had assembled at the great church of London for Christmas. Christmas morning, just as they were leaving the church, a strange sight drew their attention. In the churchyard was a large stone, and on it an anvil of steel, and in the steel a naked sword was held, and about it was written in letters of gold, "Whoso pulleth out this sword is by right of birth King of England." New words, anvil, a heavy iron block with a flat top and concave sides on which metal can be hammered and shaped. Explanation part. 16 years passed since the death of Lord Arthur, so all the lords and knights of Britain had assembled near the great church of London for the Christmas. It was a Christmas morning. As all were leaving the church, a strange sight drew their attention. There was a large stone, and in it a naked sword was stuck. On that stone it was written with golden words: "Whoso pulleth out this sword is by right of birth King of England." Many of the knights could not hold themselves back, fancying themselves as future kings. They rushed to the stone and attempted to draw the sword from its steel anvil. They pulled with all their might, but none of them could so much as move the sword. Nevertheless, fancy, feel a desire or liking for. Explanation part. Many of the knights could not hold themselves back. They rushed to the stone to try and attempt to draw the sword from the anvil, but none of them could do so much able to draw the sword back. Means no one was able to remove the sword from the big rock. Obviously, the man who might draw the sword and prove himself to be our rightful king is not amongst us this morning, said the Archbishop. However, every man who wishes to try his hand at drawing these swords is free to do so for the next few days. He who draws the sword will be crowned king, and to celebrate the appearance of this magnificent sword and prepare ourselves for the arrival of our future king, we will hold a magnificent tournament on New Year's Day. Neward Archbishop, the chief bishop responsible for a large district. Explanation part. Archbishop announced in the morning, the man who draw the sword easily will prove himself to be the rightful king. So every man wants to fulfill their desire. So wants to try. Drag out the sword from the anvil freely and easily for next few days. Archbishop also declared who draw the sword will crown as a king. Also celebrate the appearance of the magnificent sword and arrival of our future king. All this done on the magnificent tournament on New Year Day. On New Year Day, a great number of young and brave knights gather to attend the church service. After that, they met in the field nearby to participate in the great tournament. Dukes and counts, earls, barons, and knights crowded onto the field. All the dukes, counts, earls, barons, and knights crowded on the field on New Year Day to attend the church service. Also participate in the great tournament to try their luck. Among them was Sir Actor, a noble knight. He was accompanied by his two sons, Sir Kay and young Arthur. Kay was his own son, who had been recently knighted. Arthur, whom he had brought up as a foster son, was actually an orphan whom he had raised as his own child. The good Sir Ector loved both his sons dearly. Newards accompanied to go somewhere with someone as a companion or escort. Knighted, a man of high rank who was trained to fight as a soldier on a horse. Foster encourage the development of something special, something desirable. Explanation part. To participate in this great tournament was Sir Ector, who was noble knight. He joined this tournament among his two sons, Sir Kay and Arthur. Who Sir Kay was his own son who recently been a knighted. Arthur was an orphan, but he raised him as his own child. The good Sir Ector loved both sons dearly. As Sir Kay was preparing to join the tournament, he realized that he had left his sword behind at home. Hesitantly, he summoned his younger brother and said to him, Arthur, you want me to win this tournament, don't you? Then you must help me out. Take my horse and gallop home as fast as you can. Get my swords and rush back here at once. New words summon to call upon for specific action. Gallop here means to run fast. Explanation part. Sir Kay was preparing to join the tournament, but as he reached near the churchyard, he realized he forgot his sword at home. He asked his small brother Arthur to go fast like a horse and bring the sword from home. Arthur, you want me to win the tournament? So bring it fast and come back soon. I'm going, called Otto, rushing off at once. You shall have your sword sooner than you think. As he rushed past the church, a glint of steel caught his eye. The blade of a sword shining brightly in the morning sun. The sword was mounted on an anvil on top of a block of marble right in the middle of the churchyard. It was a magic sword in the stone, but Utter knew nothing about it. New words glint, give out, or reflect small flash of light. Mounted here means climb over, climb, or move up onto. To help his brother, Utter said yes. Will bring the sword immediately, and bring it soon. As he was rushed to go a pass, he passed the church. A glint of steel caught his eyes due to shining in the morning sun. The sword was mounted on an anvil on top of a block of a marble, right in the middle of the churchyard. You know, the sword was magic sword, but Utter was unaware about all this magic sword. All he saw was a sword that was available for taking. K shall have his sword straight away. Arthur said to himself. He ran up to the stone, seized the sword by the handle, and drew it out effortlessly. He rushed back to his brother and handed the sword to him, breathless with excitement. You are back very soon, Sir Kay said to him. But hey, this is not my sword. New words seize, take hold of suddenly and forcibly effortless in a manner requiring no physical or mental exertion. Explanation part. As Arthur saw the sword in the churchyard and say himself, Kay would have his sword straight away. He ran up to the stone, removed the sword. Student, you can see in the image. Without effort, effortlessly, he removed the sword and rushed back to his brother, breathless with excitement. But on seeing the sword, Sir Kay said, Hey, this is not my sword. No, it isn't, smiled Utter. I thought it would take me too long to get home and bring your sword. I found this sword in the churchyard. It looked good, and I thought you could use it just for today. We will, of course, put it back when the games are over. Sir Kay stood speechless, staring at his younger brother. He knew all about the magic sword and what it signified, but Arthur was unaware of it all. New was speechless, unable to speak, especially as the temporary result of shock or strong at emotion. Staring, look fixedly or vacantly at someone or something with one's eyes wide open signified here means idea expressed by a sigh. Explanation part. Arthur smiled and said, Yes, it isn't your, but I thought it would take me too long to get home and bring your sword. I found this sword in churchyard. It looked good, so you could use it for today. We will put it back on in same place when the game over. On this Sergei was speechless. It was strange. He stared his younger brother because he heard about this magic sword, but Archer was unaware of all this story. Arthur had always been a brave and violent boy, and he had excelled in fencing and archery. He adored his father and his half brother, and his dream was to be the squire to his dashing brother. And now, without even knowing what it implied, Arthur had drawn the magic sword from the stone. Kay's mind was working rapidly. He actually held the sword of the stone in his hand, the very same sword that the strongest and best knights could not so much as grip or get hold of. New words, valiant, possessing, or showing courage or determination. Fencing, the sport of fighting with swords, especially false ips. Archery, shooting with a bow and arrows, especially at a target as a sport. Square, a man of high social standing who owns and lives on a estate in a rural area, especially the chief landowner in such an area. Explanation part. Arthur was a brave, good, and noble boy. He had done well in his fencing and archery. He loved his father, Sir Ector, and his half brother, and always dreamed to be a squire of his brother. And he was not knowing what is going on, because the sword which he removed from the anvil, it was a magic sword, but here Sir Kay mind worked very fast. He held the magic sword in his hand, that in his hand, that sword which none of the knight could not remove it once, get hold of it. Sir Kay seized the sword and ran to their father, leaving a bewildered Arthur behind him. He said to Sir Ector, "Father, father, this is the sword of the stone, and I have it in my hand. I am the rightful king of Britain." Sir Ector was a wise man. "How did you get hold of this sword, son?" he asked his elder, eldest born. You can see in the image. New words, seize, take hold of suddenly and forcibly, bewilder, perplexed, and confused, very puzzled. Explanation part. Sir Kay seized hold the sword in his hand and ran to their father, leaving behind young and kind Arthur. He said, "Father, father, see, this is the sword of the stone, and I have it in my hand. Now I am the rightful king of Britain." But Sir Ector was a wise man. He asked to Sir Kay, "How did you get hold of this sword?" Evaluation part of our part 1, the sword in the stone. First, put the following events in chronological order. A. The sword in the stone appear in the churchyard. B. Lord Uther died. C. Lord Uther drove the barbarians away. D. The lords and knights began to fight for the kingdom. E. Sir Kay left his sword behind at home. F. Ancient Britain was invaded by the wild barbarians. So, these points you're supposed to write according to the story. Let's see. Answer the following. First, which strange events was witnessed on Christmas morning? Answer is on Christmas morning in the churchyard was a large stone and on it an anvil of steel, and in the steel a naked sword was held. About it was written in letter of gold that whoever pulled out the sword will be right of birth become the king of England. Second, who crowned on the field to participate in the great tournament? Answer: dukes and counts, heirs, barons, and knights crowded on the field to participate in the great tournament. Third, who was Sir Actor? Answer: Sir Ector was a noble knight who had two sons, Sir Kay and young Arthur, whom he loved dearly. While Kay was his own son, who was a knight, Arthur was an orphan who was brought up as a foster son by the Sir Ector. Grammar part. There was no heir to the throne of Britain. Pick out the nouns. Answer: throne, Britain. Second, Sir Ector was a wise man. Pick out the adjectives. Answer: wise. He who knew all about the magic sword. Pick out the noun. Pick out the pronoun. Answer: he. Thank you, student.